Glory to the assembled devotee.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotee.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Guru. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Starter School, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service, Text 29. Mother of Kapila Devi is speaking now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Om Jaya Narottamam.
Devim Saraswati Vyasa.
Devim Saraswati Vyasa.
Bhaktu Jaya Mudiraye. Nashtavrayes Tuavatresu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttama Sloke. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuke. Yam Syanubhava Kilam Sutisaramekam Adhyatmadipam Atitir Satam Tamandam Samsarina Karunaya Purana Guyam Tam Vyasasunam Upayami Gurur Muninam. Okay, we are reading today from Canto 3, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 25, Text 29, The Glories of Devotional Service. Thank you all the devotees for coming this morning. Wonderful Bhagavatam class, and we had beautiful Srila Prabhupada Guru Puja ceremony, and all the dancers, special devotees who are jumping in the air to express their beautiful, special love to their Grand Spiritual Master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And their Divine Lordship, Sri Sri Radha Madhav, Sri Sri Gaurnitai, Sri Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Sri Sri Saligram Sila, Sri Giri Govardhan, and Sri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan, and all the Supreme Personalities who are in our altar here. And okay, we have text 29 here. Yo yogo bhagavad bhano.
Yo yogo bhagavad bhano.
Nirvanatma svayodita.
Nirvanatma svayodita.
Kidrisha kati chandani.
Kidrisha kati chandani.
Etas tattva vavodanam.
Yatas tattva vavodanam.
Yo yogo bhagavad bhano. Nirvanatmam stvayodita.
Nirvanatmam stvayodita.
Idrishakati Chandani Etas Tattva Babodhanam Yo Yogo Bhagavad Bhano Nirvanatmam Svayodita Idrishakati Chandani Etas Tattva Babodhanam
Yo yogo bhagavad bhano Nirvanatmam svayoditaha Idrishakati Changani Yatastatva Babodhanam Yo yoga bhagavad bhano Nirvanatmam svayoditaha
Idrishakati Chandani
Yo yoga bhagavad bhano Yo yoga bhagavad bhano
Nirvanam Samvatayodita
Idrishakati Changani
Idrishakati Chandani
Yatyastata Vabodhanam
Etas Tattva Babodhanam
Yo yoga bhagavad bhano
Yo yoga bhagavad bhano
Nirvanatmam svayoditaha
Nirvanam svayoditaha
Idrishakati Changani
Idrishakati Changani
Yatastatva Babodhanam
Yatastatva Babodhanam Yo yoga bhagavad bhano Nirvanatmam svayoditaha Idrishakati Changani Yatastatva Babodhanam Yo yoga bhagavad bhano Nirvanatmam svayoditaha Idrishakati Changani Yatastatva Babodhanam Yo yoga bhagavad bhano Nirvanatmam svayoditaha Idrishakati Changani Yatastatva Babodhanam
Yaha which Yoga mystic yoga process Bhagavad Bhanaha aiming at the Supreme Personality of Godhead Nirvana Atman O embodiment of Nirvana Tvaya by you Uditaha explained Kidrishaha of what nature Kati how many Cha and Angani branches Yataha by which Tattva of the truth Ababodhanam understanding. The translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The mystic yoga system, as you have explained, aims at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system. How many ways are there by which one can understand in truth that sublime yoga? Please repeat. The mystic yoga system, as you have explained, aims at the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system.
Please let me know the nature of that yoga system.
How many ways are there
How many ways are there
by which one can understand in truth
by which one can understand in truth
that sublime yoga?
that sublime yoga?
Purport. There are different kinds of mystic yoga systems aiming for different phases of the absolute truth. The Jnana Yoga system aims at the impersonal Brahman effulgence, and the Hatha Yoga system aims at the localized personal aspect, the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. Whereas Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service, which is executed in 9 different ways, heard by hearing and chanting, aims at complete realization of the Supreme Lord. There are different methods of self-realization, but here Devahuti especially refers to the Bhakti Yoga system, which has already been primarily explained by the Lord. The different parts of the Bhakti Yoga system are hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping the Lord in the temple, accepting service to Him, carrying out His orders, making friendship with Him, and ultimately surrendering everything for the service of the Lord. The word Nirvanatman is very significant in this verse. Unless one accepts the process of devotional service, one cannot end the continuation of material existence. As far as Jnanis are concerned, they are interested in Jnana Yoga, but even if one elevates oneself after a great performance of austerity to the Brahman effulgence, there is a chance of falling down again to the material world. Therefore, Jnana Yoga does not actually end material existence. Similarly, regarding the Hatha Yoga system, which aims at the localized aspect of the Lord, Paramatma, it has been experienced that many yogis, such as Vishwamitra, fall down. But Bhakti yogis, once approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, never come back to this material world, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Yad gatva nanivartante, upon going, one never comes back. Taktva deham punarjanmanaiti, after giving up this body, he never comes back again to accept a material body. Nirvana does not finish the existence of the soul. The soul is ever existing. Therefore, Nirvana means to end one's material existence, and to end material existence means to go back home, back to God. Sometimes it is asked how the living entity falls down from the spiritual world to the material world. Here is the answer. Unless one is elevated to the Vaikuntha planets, directly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is prone to fall down, either from the impersonal Brahman realization or from an ecstatic trance of meditation. Another word in this verse, Bhagavat Banaha, is very significant. Banaha means arrow. The Bhakti Yoga system is just like an arrow aiming up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhakti Yoga system never urges one towards the impersonal Brahman effulgence or to the point of Paramatma realization. This Banaha or arrow is so sharp and swift that it goes directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, penetrating the regions of impersonal Brahman and vocalized Paramatma. Om Agyan Tinanasya Gyanjam Svakaya Chakshurumilitam Jai Tasmai Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamandarapi Swaparaitam Deham Sri Gurau Sri Utapakamalam Sri Gurau Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sarvajatam Sagaraghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahavalita Sri Visakhanditamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopi Sagopika Kanta Sri Radha Kanta Namaskute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Vriksha Kripa Sindhuyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharye Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatare Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yogo Bhagavad Bano Nirvaratma Stayoditah Kidrisha Katichangani Ekas Tattva Babodhanam. The mystic yoga system, as you have explained, aimed at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system. How many ways are there by which one can understand in truth the sublime yoga? Prabhupada is explaining about all pervading by his mystic energies, and he has so many multifarious energies, agents, and his networking, working under this material world and in the spiritual world. So the living being the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and they are very eternal fragmental part of the Supreme Lord, they do not ultimately become happy in this material world by any means of activities they perform. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, text number 18, King Nimi and Prabodha, they have conversation asking question each other to know the meaning, answer to the meaning of what life should be, life is. So here Prabodha is saying that living beings are trying to eliminate all the unhappiness, all the miseries, all these negative side of the life, and they are trying to increase the happiness by working so hard and by applying so many methods in this material world. But the result become opposite of that. Despite of their tireless efforts, ultimately when the bodies start getting older and older, they experience more and more suffering, which they did not at all desire to experience. They were trying to increase the happiness, but their own body or our own body is giving us more and more discomfort, suffering when we become old, that every one of us can experience practically. We do not have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam to understand these things. That is why one is suggested to give up all these external material efforts and surrender unto the spiritual master who can impart the real knowledge that comes from the Supreme Lord directly. Tasmad Guru Prapadyeta Jigyashusreya Uttamam. The best among those people who are looking something good is that they should approach the spiritual master with sublime way, in a humble way. So, that is why the Lord comes to this material world to establish that path of bhakti or path of other Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Karma Yoga, all kind of yoga systems are there in order to engage living being in a proper way so that somehow or other they can realize the Supreme Lord one day. That was the desire of the Lord. So when the living being fall down to this material world, whether they are falling from Brahma Jyoti or from the intense meditation when they were meditating upon the localized feature of the Lord, or no matter if they are coming down from the spiritual world, they are not left alone in this world. The Lord always accompanies them as a super soul, localized feature. And the Lord sometimes personally descend in order to show special path, how the living being can be delivered again back to their home, back to God. And the mystic yoga system here, Mother Devahuti is explaining about the yoga system, which is very mystical, which is not very easily available, is explained by Kapila Deva. She wants to know which one is the best way. Like in Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, Arjuna also wants to know the best, easiest path of devotional service. Which one is the best one? He is talking about, you talked to me already about impersonal Brahman, and you already have talked to me about the personal Brahman, and then both ways, which one is the best? Let me open the Bhagavad Gita chapter 12 quickly and find beautiful few verses here in order to help us understand. Look at here, okay. Arjuna vacha etavam satata yuktaye bhaktatyam bhaktastyam paripasate echapya aksharam abhyaktam tesam ke yoga vittama. This is a question mark. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? We are on the same page in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Now Arjuna has a question and Bhagavan Sri Krishna answers. Bhagavan Vacha Manyavesya Manoemam Nitya Yukta Upasate. Nitya Yukta Upasate means eternally being observed of me, and then you just worship me. This is what it is the best. Srataya means with faith, Parayo Petash, Teme Yukta Tamo Matar. The Supreme Personality of God is saying, those who fix their minds to my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. So this was the answer by Lord Sri Krishna upon the question asked by Arjuna. Which path is the best path to meditate of you? Whether we should meditate upon your unmanifested form, like this cosmic manifestation, or the localized form, or the personality of Godhead. And Krishna says, yes, it is very, very difficult for embodied soul to meditate upon my unmanifested form. It is possible. It is not that it is not impossible. It is possible to meditate upon my unmanifested form, but to those who are embodied soul, who have got the bodies, physical body, conditional body, for them it is very, very hard, difficult, almost impossible to meditate my unmanifested form. So, slowly, Mother Devahuti is bringing Kapila Dev to explain more detail about Bhakti Yoga, the personal, loving, devotional service of the Supreme Lord, which she says a mystic yoga process. And I remember a beautiful pastime that happened when Lord Sri Krishna was in Vrindavan. There were so many Brahmanas, they were very, very well versed in Vedic ceremonies, different kind of different kind of ritualistic ceremonies. And they would perform every day with a proper ritual, proper procedure, proper rules and regulations according to the Sanskrit. And they had their wives simply assisting their husbands to help them complete these ceremonies. They would prepare food, they would clean the houses, they would decorate the yajna, kunda area, the sacrificial arena, and they would help bring all kind of necessary things to assist their husbands. And their husbands were very much desiring to live a happy, beautiful, healthy, happy life. And they were always desiring to go to Swarga Lokas by performing all these kind of activities, by satisfying different kind of demigods, by offering different kind of items. Whereas their wives were always observed in Krishna. They would always think that, oh, when will we see our Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, who is very, very attractive, who plays flute, who wears yellow garment, who wears the flowers, garland from the forest, beautiful fragrant flowers. They had such a deep desire to see Krishna in their heart, even though they were not very much well trained in all kinds of ritualistic activities. They were not very much educated in shastras and other stuff. But simply they would think of Krishna in their mind at all times. And Krishna, being the super soul of all the living beings, he could see that intense desire of the Brahmana's wife that they wanted to see him. One day he desired to give them some compassion. He desired to give them some special mercy to the wives of the Brahmins. And one morning when Krishna, Balaram and all the cowherd boys, they were in the forest tending the cows, pasturing the cows in the pasturing field in the forest, the cowherd boys started feeling hungry in their stomach. And after feeling so hungry, they approached Krishna and Balaram and asked some food. Oh my Lord, oh brother Krishna, Balaram. They do not address them as a Lord, but they know that he is all attractive, he can do anything he wants, he is a very mystic personality, he can defeat anyone who comes to fight with him. They know all these things, but they do not know that he is Supreme Lord. Because they treat him as a best friend, very intimate, very, very dear best friend. And when they approached Krishna Balaram, requesting to have some food for them, in fact, all of them were hungry, including Krishna and Balaram. And Krishna told to these boys, okay, we have in the forest right now, we are away from our home, but nearby this forest, there is a village where so many Brahmanas, they live, and they are performing special ceremonies to please the demigods, and their wives are preparing very delicious food to offer to that havan, to the sacrifice. If you approach the Brahmanas and ask food, maybe they will give in charity. Go and beg. But do not take my name. I am, they consider me as a Vaisya. I am not a Brahmana. So they may not be very eager to give charity in the name of Vaisya. So better you take the name of Balaram. At least they know him as a Kshatriya. So they might be a little bit inclined to give charity to Kshatriya. They are Kshatriya a little higher than Vaisya. And these Brahman boys, they started going to the house of the Brahmanas. When they approached the beautiful place, they saw all the Brahmanas were chanting different mantras. They were preparing for sacrifice, and their wives were decorating in a beautiful clothes, ornaments, all kind of things. And they approached them and then started talking about how and why they were there. And the boys told the Brahmanas that we are here sent by Krishna Balaram. They are a little hungry, we all are hungry. That is why we are here. And they started preaching to Brahmanas that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. If we come in His name to beg, you should immediately give something, whatever you have. Even though the food item that you are preparing to offer, you can immediately give that also to the Supreme Lord, because they are the enjoyer. Bhaktaram Tamasam, the Supreme Lord, all the purpose of doing all these activities, all the ritualistic ceremonies is to please the Supreme Lord. So you can give anything you have now. And these Brahmanas were very much puffed up. They thought that these boys do not know anything, and they are little crazy boy disturbing us here in the ceremony. So they even did not reply to the boys. They ignored them completely. And they kept doing their ceremonies. And when the boys were completely neglected by the Brahmanas, they started thinking, oh, the process is not working, so we don't think that we are going to get anything from them. So they decided to go back to the Krishna Balaram and narrated all the story, what happened to them there. And they were so much disappointed that when we were begging for the Lord and they were not given anything, they almost very much disappointed. And Krishna was trying to satisfy them that you are a beggar and you should not be disappointed when sometimes people do not give to you. There are always some people who will not give to you. So you should keep going. If not one person, you should not give up begging, and you should go to another person, and finally somebody might give to you. Now, Krishna was trying to convince these boys to go back to the Brahmana's house again, and this time he suggested not to ask anything from the Brahmanas, the husbands, who were doing all kind of sacrifices with the great mantras. And Krishna told them that please approach to the wives of the Brahmanas who are great devotee of mine. Ask from them, tell them that we are here sent by Krishna and Balaram, and we all are feeling very hungry. Kindly give us some food to us. Ask them, not the husband, to the wives. And they will give, because they are my devotees. And they had a little hope in their mind, and then they left for Brahmana's house again. And as they approached the wives of the Brahmanas, they started talking, asking the food for Krishna and Balaram and for all of them. They told them, we are here sent by Krishna. And after hearing the name of Krishna from these beautiful boys, the friends of Krishna, all these wives of Brahmanas, they start feeling like so intense about Krishna. They were always desperately thinking of him. And now Krishna has sent these beautiful boys to us to beg some food. They immediately started filling the pots of all the food items that they have prepared for the sacrifice. Seeing that the husband, the Brahmanas, they were not happy, they tried to stop them. But Nothing could stop them. And they filled all the parts and then gave to them, and the Brahmana boys went to Krishna. And the wives also followed the boys. They also decided to go and see Krishna today. This is the greatest opportunity to have Krishna's darshan in our life today. But they were helping their husband to accomplish the sacrifice. And the husband, their brother, their father, their mother, they tried to stop them. Hey, you cannot go in the middle of the sacrifice. We need your help here. But nothing can stop. They all left and went to Krishna. And they had beautiful conversation with Krishna. They were very much satisfied seeing the beautiful body of Sri Krishna. And he was decorated in a beautiful garland, beautiful garment. And he had smeared some kind of painting coming from natural ingredient from the forest. And in one hand he was holding a flute. And then he was like leaning in the other hand with the other hand. He was in relaxed form. And seeing that beautiful form, all the mothers, the Brahmana's wives were filled in their heart. And they were having darshan of Krishna into their heart's content. And they were like becoming one with God. They were completely immersed into the thought of Krishna in their mind. And Prabhupada is writing in the purport, that does not mean that now they lost their existence and become one with God. They were still present in their personal physical form, and Krishna was also there present next to them, but in the thought, in the vision, in that consciousness, they were one with Krishna. And after having some time, Krishna told them that, please go back to your home and assist your husband. Now, your husband might criticize you, you are leaving them alone and coming here with talking to me in the middle of the forest. It may not be very social activities. People may criticize you. Your husband may be a little think negative about you. And the wives of Brahmanas, they told that you are the shelter of the surrendered soul. Once we are here, we do not want to go back to the material life again. We have already done with that life. We have no desire to go back. Please give us shelter and take us with you. We do not want to lose this precious moment of being with you. And Krishna says that, I would like to promise you that you will go back and you will not be rejected by your husbands. They will accept your service again back to home. And then you always think of me. You always observe me in your mind, whatever activities you perform at your home. By this way, you remain always with me. And Krishna convinced them finally, and they returned home, and their husbands were very happy to see them back home. And what happened is that, after they were returned, some of the wives who were forcibly stopped to coming to Krishna, they started hearing about this description of Krishna from those wives who were there. And one of the wives, she was completely absorbed in Krishna's thought, hearing from her other relatives' wives. She passed, she left her body, and she went back to God. And all these Brahmanas started thinking, hell to our expertise in this Shastra, hell to our sacrificial qualifications. Everything is in vain. We just are useless people. They started regretting in their heart for rejecting the cowherd boys, that they were begging something from Krishna. And they started realizing that, yeah, the purpose of doing all these activities is to please the Supreme Lord. And we had opportunity, the same Supreme Lord has sent his boys to us, and we rejected. What is the purpose, usage of doing all these things? They were feeling so bad in their heart. And then Brahmana's wives thus were very much blessed by Sri Krishna. So that is the goal of performing devotional activities. Not to show someone that I am very expert, learned person, I know so many slokas, I am a very senior, I know to say the katha, Krishna katha. No, these all are external. You should have very loving devotion in your heart. And your mind should be filled up with Krishna at all time. And no matter how much expert we are, no matter how much qualified we are, no matter how much very higher society we were born, that all are external. Anyone can please Krishna by his devotional attitude, by remembering him in all time. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. All these 9 devotional processes, they are meant to upgrade one from this material condition of life and bring one close to Krishna. So Devahuti is also saying, I am a woman, I am not very much intelligent, I do not have very much other knowledge about devotional service. Teach me something very simple. Very simple Masala. And then Kapila Muni is teaching her about devotional service. And he said that this seems maybe very simple, but this is the highest advanced path one can connect me in this loving devotional service. So, we have a choice what we want to be. We want to remain in this material world and then we follow all these different kind of processes, or we want to get nirvana, completely detached from this material world and free ourselves from all kind of dualism, this material illusion, and go back home, back to God and remain with Him at all time in a loving devotional service. So, how fortunate we are to have this divine association of Srila Prabhupada and his writings. When I was reading his book, I even more one step ahead, I understand Prabhupada is not an ordinary person. Every time you read any line you read about Prabhupada, you understand Prabhupada's position. More and more realization, step by step. And one day, we can play with Krishna like all these cowherd boys. And we can go to Brahmana's house to beg for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any question, any comment, any thoughts?
Beautiful pastor, thank you.
Jai Ananta.
There's this verse in comes from the Garuda Purana. You know, you're talking about these Brahmanas who are expert in ceremonies and scriptures and whatnot. So the verse says, one may go to the end of the Vedas, and one may be very expert in reciting the scriptures. And it says, Yona Sarveshari Bhaktas, Tam Vidya Purushahanam. You know what that means?
Purusha Vigyan, the science of, yeah,
Purushahanam.
Purusha means.
It means, it means you may be those things, but if you're not a devotee of the Sarveshwar, the controller of everything, you're understood to be the lowest of mankind.
Wow.
So why would it say the lowest of mankind? You have an opinion about that? Because these Brahmanas, it doesn't seem like they would be the lowest of mankind, even though they may be.
Yeah, because they, being a Brahmana, which is naturally the intelligent class of the society, topmost intelligent class, if they miss the point that the Supreme Lord is the object of, the goal of all that they survey, they study, they practice, if they miss that part, there is no point to be any more higher class. That is why that was like a strong expression of anger to someone who misused the position, who could understand the absolute truth, but missing it. That's why who could be more less intelligent than that? That was such a strong expression.
People would be misled. The Brahmanas don't know the truth and everything.
Right, and when they lead others and they mislead, the whole society collapse. That is why. Yes, Prabhuji Elijah.
In the purport, it was talking about how yoga conclusions, like yoga processes, like Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, can bring you to like Brahman. Like Jnana Yoga with the Upanishads and things brings you like to a Brahman realization, and Hatha Yoga brings you to the localized aspect. Is there benefit to still doing Jnana and Hatha Yoga, and why would a Hatha Yoga lead to Paramatma realization?
It is always beneficial. There the yoga ladder. One can gradually, progressively advances from one position to the other position, and ultimately can come to the Bhakti Yoga. But there is always a chance that one who is engaged in Hatha Yoga, about this Brahma Jyoti, and then another yoga of Paramatma, we have example in the Shastra that great yogis like Vishwamitra, who could go under the water, and Saubhari Muni, all the great sages who were doing tapasya, who were able to see the Supreme Lord in their heart as a Paramatma, at some point they slip from the position. They were distracted by something else, and then they fall down. So it is always good to do that, and then ultimately come to the position of devotional service. But if we remain in that, and then there is a chance we cannot get complete nirvana by that process. There's a chance. Once Bhakti Yoga, one get liberated, or go back to Dharat, there is no chance to come down. That is why it is, especially in this age, Kali Yuga. First of all, one is not very much intelligent to how to do the Hatha Yoga and other yogas. Second, they do not have enough time to do so. Third, they are very unfortunate. Fourth, they are very short-lived. Their lives is very short. Prayana alpa ayusha sabya talo asmin yugi jana. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hipaduta. Because of all these qualities, which are not very much favorable to perform all kind of Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, these yogas, it is not very practical for this time. Yagya Sankirtana Praya, Yajantiye Sume Dasa. Very intelligent people will engage in Yagya, Sankirtana Yagya. Me Dasa means intelligent people. Sume Dasa means very intelligent persons. Not only intelligent, very super intelligent. They engage in Sankirtana Yoga, Yuga Dharma. So it is beneficial and easy, and anyone can perform. You do not need any specific time, place, circumstances. Yes. Anything you want to add, Prabhu?
It's yeah, it's interesting how there's these yogis and great personalities from like the Satya Yuga, and they were more engaged in not Sankirtan but the Yuga Dharma of Satya Yuga, which was intense tapasya and meditation, and still they didn't, unless they were a great personality described in the Bhagavatam, they didn't culminate in Bhakti Yoga. And some people think that because Bhakti Yoga isn't so emphasized in the Chaturveda, and it's sort of like an outside Vedic thing, or not as qualified as other types of yogas too.
all the Vedas actually they are talking about Bhakti Yoga, but they are little indirectly talking. In Yajur Veda, there is a description about the Supreme Lord, which seems like the Supreme Lord is impersonal. Akayam. Kaya means what? Kaya means body, right? In Sanskrit, Kaya is also called body. Oh, Akaya means one who has no body. And that verse explains one who does not have body, one who does not have this quality, one who does not have that quality, this and that. It explains everything. Like one person was saying, where is your house? And he said, I do not have a house. And he said, I do not have a house with green window. I do not have a house with 3-story building. I do not have a house with 7 rooms. What is the point of saying that, explaining I do not have a house with no window, no house, no room, no refrigerator, if there is no house, all these things do not come in. So in Vedas, in Yajurveda, the Lord, Supreme Lord is explained in such a way that He does not have a body, which means this body is the result of good and bad karma. So the Supreme Lord has no any good or any bad karma. So He does not have the body that is the product of.
Doesn't have material about
Yes.
spiritual body.
Like in this morning we are reading in Bhagavad Gita Sloka. Nishta Anishta Mistram Cha. The sannyasis who are completely renounced from this world, they have nothing to enjoy or suffer. They do not have any work like which is nishta, auspicious, or anishta, inauspicious. And they do not have any mixtures of these both qualities. And they do not have to suffer or enjoy anything next life. They are completely free. So that is how the body of Lord Sri Krishna is. So I have a beautiful verse that explains, all the Mayavadis quote that verse. And it is very long, very difficult to read. So many letters together, it's long words. And that is indirectly explaining that the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna has a body, but not the body like ours. But unintelligent people think, oh yes, God is impersonal, look at Him. If I say I have no house, why should I say I do not have fridge in my house? I should not have a window in my house. I should not have 7 rooms in my house. If I don't have a house, I don't have any concept of 7 rooms, black window, refrigerator, everything. So Vedas are talking about Bhakti Yoga, but they are hidden.
I have a question. We hear a lot how we say, like, when you go back, there's no chance of falling again. But if we fell once, how do we know? Like, what keeps us from falling again?
Oh, Prabhupada, he says, here is the answer. Prabhupada said that sometimes people fall from the Brahmajyoti, sometimes they fall from deep meditation, like super soul meditation. And suppose if there is a fire in this house, in some house we have a fire, we do not start thinking, oh, what happened? How did the fire get here? Let me research about these causes of the fire. No, we just first try to go out from the house, from the fire. And then we start thinking, what may be the causes of the fire? So Prabhupada says that first come out from this world, and then you think about how I fell to this material world. Somehow or other we fell. We had desire to separate, to enjoy, separate from Lord. We had that desire. So that may be the cause of falling down to this material world. It is very, very difficult and complicated question. I do not have an exact solid answer, but I'm saying this, what I have heard. Anyone has any specific, solid, more close answer? Yes?
There's the concept that we fell from the spiritual association with Krishna, but we only do that once because we've become contaminated with illusion, matter, false ego. And so that's become all of us, and we're in this cycle of samsara. We continually try to experience separation from God until we finally do surrender. And then we realize once we do surrender and we achieve the mercy of Krishna, we return home. That is the conclusion. There is no separate version of trying to be like God and sinning a second time within the transcendental world.
You can also read the story of Gopakumar in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Is that right?
Yes.
Brihad Bhagavatamrita.
Brihad Bhagavatamrita. There's a story of Gopakumar, how he came to this world, how did he return, how was the time gap in that all this time. Like when he came down to this world, lived for millions and trillions of years and living like different kind of bodies. When he returned back to Godhead, the time was like this. That's it. Krishna embraced him, welcomed him back. I hope we will go there one day and then we see. Yes?
I was just going to ask, aren't we, I don't know the word, I know the word for eternally liberated, but aren't we considered eternally conditioned souls? So, what's the word you wrote out?
Yeah, Nityavada means eternally conditioned.
So, wouldn't that mean we've been, like for so long, eternally conditioned, it's been so long it's not even really perceivable how we fell away. We've been here for an eternity. And then, when we actually go back to Goloka Vrindavan, we become Nitya Siddha, which is eternally liberated. So it's, then again, like, eternally liberated, so you never fall back here.
It's not that easy to wrap our heads around it because we're covered by ignorance.
Yeah,
We
the
can't
best,
understand the problem.
the best thing is to chant Hare Krishna and then Krishna revealed this answer from the Divya Gyan, Hriday Prakashita. It manifests from the heart. Yes?
It seems to be like there's like two forms of eternity, a material and spiritual one. Like the material one is that we're eternally separate from God, but that doesn't mean we're, in the future we can't choose because due to our conditioning, Prabhupada says we are conditioned since time immemorial, but that's because this material world is actually affected by kala or time, like gunas in these forms. So
Since this material world is the creation of God, it is as eternal as spiritual world.
Yeah, so there's like eternity as in there's no time or no numbers, and there's eternity like a really, really big number,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Bo. Thank you so much.